just like with the Vietnam Syndrome, the Iraq Syndrome ushered in a period of American retreat and international chaos, led by Barack Obama and Joe Biden predominantly.
There's something so utterly depraved, but very revealing about people who use either of these terms. So what they mean when they say that we developed Iraq War syndrome or Vietnam syndrome is that Americans, the syndrome that we have, the sickness, is that we kind of tend to go like, oh, maybe we shouldn't go on these giant murder campaigns.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Base Network. I'm your host, Israel Populum. Today we have a very special video for you today. It's Dave Smith cooking Ben Shapiro. And I know, Ben Shapiro, really? That's like the lowest hanging fruit. I don't give a shit. I'm hungry and I want to see Ben Shapiro get cooked. And I know, okay, let me just say this out right now. I don't like Ben Shapiro, okay? Ben Shapiro is essentially a propagandist for a foreign state. And he is a sneaky loser who pretends to care about things like freedom of speech, pretends to care about things like America, when truly he cares about his special country in Israel. Whoa, that's pretty anti-Semitic, bro. Look here, there's a signed document in the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism that Donald Trump and a lot of other Republicans were basically bribed and paid for to sign, saying that that's a legitimate anti-Semitic statement. And what I say for you that is, wow, I just did a verbal IQ test and you failed. Because Ben Shapiro literally has a quote saying that the number one guarantor for his loyalty to America is their loyalty to Israel. That's it. That statement alone makes you a propagandist for a foreign state. You have loyalty to a foreign state over the United States. Therefore, why should I listen to you speak about anything to do with foreign policy? Maybe domestic policy, I'll let you cook. But foreign policy, like, I don't care about what you have to say. So obviously when I saw that Dave Smith targeted Ben Shapiro, a white pearly tear went down my leg. And I was so happy. I had a smile on my face for 10 days. Not even true, I saw it this morning. But you know what I'm saying? You're not here for me, you're here for Dave Smith cooking Ben Shapiro. I understand that. Let's get going.
And for today's show is just going to be more fallout from this week, which already has been pretty remarkable. It's pretty amazing to see where the lines are kind of drawn and who's good on issues when they really matter. And it's it's eye-opening every time these things happen. Every time that there's like a kind of major stress test or a major event, it just kind of, it reminds you, well, I think there's this dynamic where amongst the political commentators or people talking about this stuff on shows or writing about this stuff, it's always like, when they say, you ever heard people say like, if you believe in free speech, like it doesn't matter if you support speech that you like. The whole question is whether you support speech that you don't like, right? So like Joseph Stalin and Adolf Hitler, they believed in free speech that they liked. They just didn't allow speech that they didn't like. So that's kind of the test of whether you really believe in free speech, right? It's kind of an age-old, saying or idea. There's something, there's almost a similar version about that, about being right on an issue when it matters. Like everybody's good on the Iraq war now. Everybody's good on COVID now. Everybody's good on wokeism now. But the question is like, where were you when it actually mattered? Where were you when, when it was really difficult to stand up against these things? And a lot of people don't want to point that out at all. And so you get this dynamic where people they seem really good on a lot of issues, but then when one comes up and it's actually challenging to oppose it, they cave very quickly.
That is so true. That is objectively true. And you know why? Because it's a phenomena of people are lizards. Okay? And what I mean by that is they will change their colors, they will change their stripes to fit in. So if you know that there is a fervor in the United States against war, right? And every time we get into a regime change war, it ends up a failure. And there becomes a refugee crisis, and we get flooded with illegal immigrants or refugees, and everyone complains about that, and it's a whole problem. So when people are talking about history, when the emotional payload is no longer there, because that's the thing too, emotion. So the sooner an event is, or right after it passes, an emotional aspect to the conversation, whenever that's gone, they're very good. They're able to say, and they're able to give a really good synopsis, a very good argument. He analogizes with freedom of speech, which I think is a great analogy. He says, hey, look, it doesn't matter that you say you believe in free speech. It matters if you support speech you don't agree with. And that's the reason why I don't like Ben Shapiro. Because he doesn't actually believe in free speech. He says he believes in free speech as long as you don't criticize Israel. And again, there's levels to it. So there's like there's the legalistic level of like you will be literally put in jail, like the government will come in and stop you, which is objectively happening. And I'm going to post a video on protest laws and free speech laws that are being strangled with the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which I know Ben Shapiro has said he disagrees with, but I actually don't believe him. He's a propagandist for a foreign country. And then there's the moral or the kind of societal or the layman's definition of free speech, which is you allow people to talk and you allow open debate and you're willing to have conversations. On both ends, Ben Shapiro 100% falls flat on his face when it comes to Israel because he is biased and he's a propagandist for a foreign country. And when he talks about being right at the right time, that's another, like, dude, he's hitting the nail on the goddamn head, okay, when he talks about that. Because if you pay attention to Ben Shapiro, whenever a conversation gets ban-worthy, like whenever you start talking about something and you can get banned for it, he will not touch the conversation. He won't touch the conversation. Look what happened with COVID. He was out here shilling the vaccine, being like, you guys have to take the vaccine, take the vaccine. And whatever you think about the vaccine, that's whatever. But afterwards, he kind of backs away from it because he knows it's super unpopular. Because he's a businessman. He's a businessman. And then that's kind of gets into the whole Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro argument, where, and I don't really support Steven Crowder either, but I think it's a little more honest. I would say he's a little more honest than Ben Shapiro, which is not the highest bar, but he is more honest than Ben Shapiro. Where he comes out and he says that Ben Shapiro worked with a YouTube and they worked with them to not get banned while everyone else was getting banned and they weren't touching certain subjects. Like COVID. COVID was a big one. When you're anti-lockdown and you're saying, hey, maybe you don't have to take the vaccine if you're young and healthy. No, he was out here shilling that. Because he doesn't have morals. And that's kind of what hits it there. Right? It's like, is the logic applied universally? Because if not, it's not logic, it's propaganda. I get that from Owen Schroyer. I hear him say that a lot. And that's another thing that rings home. I love that phrase, and I'm dead-ass stealing that. Sorry, Owen. It's stolen. It's mine now. But it's just true. It's just true. All right, you're not here to listen to me. I understand that. Let's continue. Let's let Dave cook.
But I just thought it was so crazy that he tweeted at me the other day. You know, I had some tweet about how, you know, I don't support what Trump's doing in Venezuela. And he tweeted back at me like a Venezuelan, like it's like a video of some random Venezuelan guy like crying happy tears because Maduro was removed. And he goes, we support this. And I couldn't imagine that. It's like, imagine you had supported the war in Iraq and you were on record cheerleading the thing and then admitting it was a disaster and then apologize for your support. But you would still use that as evidence that, well, look, here's a happy person. Like, look how happy they were when Saddam Hussein fell. They were tearing statues down of it. Like, what? It's just crazy that anyone would go along with this again. And I guess in a sense, it's like, shouldn't you? I mean, I understand, like, I'm flirting with some type of fallacy here. Like, this isn't a complete argument. But, like, when Ben Shapiro and Lindsey Graham are thrilled with the administration, what does that tell you? When the never-Trumpers who hated Trump's guts because he threatened to end forever wars and regime change wars, when all those people who hated him because of that are now his biggest champions and love everything about the administration, like, no exaggeration, Donald Trump in the last week has gotten praised by Ben Shapiro, Lindsey Graham, and Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush is praising Donald Trump's leadership.
Another amazing point from Dave Smith. Well, number one, he was talking about Dinesh D'Souza in the beginning of the clip. He wasn't talking about Ben Shapiro, who tweeted at him. But there's two things here. Number one, the way propaganda works. Again, propaganda doesn't have to be fake. The video doesn't have to be fake. There could be people cheering on the street. But why are you seeing it now? Why are the cameras there? Why is this blowing up? It's because they want you to believe the democracy angle. They want you to believe Maduro. Well, Maduro is a bad guy. This isn't a defense of Maduro, 100%. I want you to understand I'm saying that. Maduro is an evil person, and I don't care that he's put in jail. Like, all these people being like, oh, it's against international law, blah, blah. And I understand that because of, again, posturing with China, and that kind of bolsters them. They're looking at Taiwan now, salivating. But that's a different conversation. Let's keep that in a different conversation bin. All propaganda needs to do is serve a purpose. And then another great point from Dave Smith, where he comes out and he goes, these people who were never Trumpers, because Trump was very anti-war, very anti-regime change in the beginning of his administration, or technically when he was running, and now he's co-opted by special interests. He was the guy who said, I don't need to take money because I'm so rich, and now he's probably the most funded person on the planet from all these foreign investors and oil companies. Like, why did oil companies know? Why did oil companies know about the invasion before Congress? Because he doesn't work for the people. He doesn't work for the American people. He works for special interests. And that's a fact. But why is it that they're all supporting him now? When Donald Trump, and again, and it's very important to remember this, Ben Shapiro was supporting Ron DeSantis? Yeah, Ron DeSantis. He was supporting Ron DeSantis during the 2024 running, in the beginning of it, and then he knows, oh yeah, Trump is going to win. Let's go towards that side because I have to keep appearances for my audience, my cattle audience, and they support Trump, so I have to pretend like I like Trump. And then when Trump does everything that neocons want, because again, Ben Shapiro is a neocon. He's a genocidal neocon. If you pay attention to what he said about Palestinians in the past on his Twitter, literally says that they live in huts and they're like garbage. And his posturing with the whole genocide, all that. He's a bloodthirsty neocon. And now when Donald Trump is pushing that agenda, he is all for it. He is riding it. And again, this has bends with Ben Shapiro's true motives. Ben Shapiro's true motives is to push war in Iran. That is his true motive. That's what he wants. That's his like ultimate holy grail. Why? Because that's what the state of Israel wants. He's a propagandist for the country. He's a propagandist for the state of Israel. He wants Israel to be as strong as possible. Which makes sense, right? He's loyal to that country. He said it himself. He said himself that he's more loyal to the state of Israel than the United States. Saying that the number one guarantor of his loyalty to the United States is their loyalty to Israel. That is an objective statement where he is clearly telling you that he is a propagandist for this state of Israel. One more video clip here that I'm going to show you guys.
Just like with the Vietnam Syndrome, the Iraq Syndrome ushered in a period of American retreat and international chaos, led by Barack Obama and Joe Biden predominantly. Withdrawal from Iraq led to the rise of ISIS under Barack Obama.
Pause it already. Okay, so he's saying, much like Vietnam Syndrome, America has been suffering through Iraq War Syndrome. And isn't it, look, this is just, there's something so utterly depraved, but very revealing about people who use either of these terms. So what they mean when they say that we developed Iraq War Syndrome or Vietnam Syndrome is that Americans, the syndrome that we have, the sickness, is that we kind of tend to go like, oh, maybe we shouldn't go on these giant murder campaigns, on these giant state-sanctioned, state-backed mass murder campaigns that just end in nothing but destruction and the blood of innocent people and bringing hell on earth to a whole generation of children and just inflicting an unthinkable level of human suffering on people who didn't do anything to anyone. That's the syndrome. They view that as a sickness.
Yeah, and again, it's so revealing because if I had 3 arms, right, I would look at everyone like, oh my God, you have 2 arms? What a weirdo. Right? You can't drive and jerk at the same time? Like, what the hell? Like, imagine living like that? And they see that the same way as being psychopathic, bloody, like, foaming at the mouth murderers. That's how they think about that. They're like, wait, you're not an insane, psychopathic, bloodthirsty murderer who likes to dominate other countries and steal resources? Whoa, that's so weird, bro. That's so weird, bro. Because, yeah, that's how they do shit in Israel. That's how they do shit in Israel. That's how they act in Israel. That's how they act in the Gaza Strip. That's how they act in the West Bank when they're stealing land. But Ben Shapiro supports all of that because he is a Jewish supremacist who believes in Jewish supremacy and domination over the United States. He is a propagandist for the state of Israel. And this is why I don't like him so much. This is why I really despise Ben Shapiro, because it's so blatant and it's so obvious. When Candace Owens, and I know Candace Owens kind of turned into a schizo ranter, you know, even though, you know, we love her. We love her. She's a queen. But when he first, and it's important to remember, like, when things happen at what time, right? So when Ben Shapiro first kicked off Candace Owens from her network, what did Candace Owens say? Do you remember? Because I do. She was out here saying, hey, look, we shouldn't, we shouldn't be, killing people overseas. We shouldn't be killing children overseas. Postpartum, right after having a kid, she's probably looking at her child and being like, damn, if this kid was born in Gaza, they would be dead. I would be dead. This is tragic. And she comes out and says that, and Ben Shapiro flips out. Because with Ben Shapiro, you're able to criticize Israel by being like, oh, maybe we shouldn't give them money. He'll disagree with you. Even though he'll be like, Israel can defend itself. And then right after, he's like, we need money, please, please. Whatever. But he'll be like, okay, I'll let that slide. But if you go, hey, I don't think it's moral to slaughter Palestinians. I think they actually have human rights, and if you kill them, it's not good. Ben Shapiro just, oh, what? You saying I can't kill a Palestinian? That's not moral. Because he literally thinks there's a two-tier system. He thinks that, he literally thinks Palestinians are less than human. They're subhuman.
How can you continue to condone the actions of the Israeli government, condoned by the U.S. government, in the Gaza Strip, where over 40,000 people have died?
I want to correct you. I don't just condone the actions of the Israeli Defense Forces and the Israeli government. I celebrate and laud them.
And that's from his statements. That's from the way he talks. That's what positions he holds. And if you think that's anti-Semitic, drop down in the comments down below, because your IQ is literally 40. Like, I can do an IQ test right now. Again, that was another verbal IQ test, because your IQ is literally negative. Because it's based off what he says, right? He says that he's more loyal to Israel than the United States. He says Palestinians, there's not a moral equivalent between killing Palestinians and killing Jews.
Understand, anybody who right now is claiming moral equivalence, anybody who's claiming both sidesism, anybody who's calling for a ceasefire, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. This is who you are standing for. These are the people you are pretending are worthy of having a conversation with. This is who they are.
And this is post-editing here. I just wanted to say something real quick. With this video clip, he is talking about Hamas, but it's important to realize that when he talks about Hamas, he means Palestinians in total. Especially, too, with the fact that he refuses to denounce the Israeli government and their actual statements, invoking the name of Amalek, which is in the Bible, talking about genocide, and other dehumanizing statements. He does not condemn that. So, again, even though he is talking about Hamas here, from his wider, broader narrative on this, he's talking about Palestinians as well. I just want to put that context there, not to put him super out of context. He says that on his platform. He goes in on his tweets. You know what? Let's pull up his tweets. Guys, I'm locked in here. Sorry, it took a while for me to pull that. Oh my goodness, dude. Articles only for paid subscribers only? Shut the hell up, dude. Whatever, I can't see it, but this is the AI overview over here. I don't know if you guys can see this. So this is the AI overview, okay? I was going to pull up the exact article to show you, but this is not too bad. So he says, transfer is not a dirty word. That's what the article was called, right? And he basically uses the argument post-World War II, expulsion of Germans from Polish territory as a precedent of ending conflict, arguing that a clean sweep will be made, right? Transfer is not a dirty word. He wants to transfer native Palestinians who were born, their generations have been on the land, actually, not like, Israel, where they came in and created a country. And he says transferring them from Judea Samaria, which again is a neo-Nazi-like Jewish dog whistle. And I don't say Jewish to be like, oh, Jews believe this. I'm saying that as it's like a Jewish supremacy dog whistle, calling these places Judea Samaria. Because they actually want a greater Israel. They want to expand their territory. Kick out all the Palestinians from the land, expand their territory, and have a Jewish ethnic majority in the country. So a racial majority, they want to expand their territory, and they're committing a genocide. Very similar to Nazis. Very similar to Nazis. But I forgot. I can't say that because the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism explicitly says that is actually a anti-Semitic thing to say, to analogize the state of Israel to Nazis, you know. And he's made worse statements than this, but this is literally him saying that he wants to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians. So yeah, that's why I really don't like Ben Shapiro. I think he is a bloodthirsty warmonger. And every time he talks about, we should do this, and the United States should do this, the United States should do this, I automatically assume he has negative intention. Because he is an evil person. He has an evil soul. You listen to the things he talks about. He doesn't actually care about people. And that's what, like, Ben Shapiro, I over time, like, I've been getting more and more against Ben Shapiro, because it's just, like, he's just a pussy. Like, he won't debate anybody. He stays in his little compound in Florida and just talks shit from a microphone. It's like, I hate it, dude. I really do. And I don't hate Ben Shapiro. I love Ben Shapiro. I hope he changes his ways and he truly repents for his Nazi-like regime seal clapping and like brainwashing the American people to support it. But that's it for today, guys. I appreciate you guys watching. Sorry if I crashed out a little bit, you know, but it is what it is. You know, we crash out. We be crashing out and shit. Fuck is you talking about? Peace. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.